Hogan's Heroes was a comedy set in Nazi-occupied Germany that found humor even in the most depressing situations. The program followed a group of prisoners of war as they deftly outwitted their captors, offering a humorous and lighthearted diversion from the seriousness of real-life situations. Because of its hilarious moments and ingenious escape strategies, Hogan's Heroes became a fan favorite. But once the program ended, what became of the cast? Let's go back to Stalag 13 and find out what happened to them. Bob Crane as Colonel Hogan. In the perilous realm of Stalag 13, Hogan is a master of deceit and a crafty strategist who always seems to be one step ahead. Like a fox, he consistently outsmarts the naive Germans. Reverse psychology is one of Hogan's hidden weapons. He's a brilliant manipulator, especially when it comes to Commander Klink, who is easily tricked. Hogan often persuades Klink to do precisely what he wants without Klink even realizing it. By appealing to his ego and anxieties, Bob followed his passion for music after graduating from Stanford High School in 1946. He played drums for the Connecticut Symphony Orchestra for a short time, but because of his light-hearted demeanor, he was fired for lacking sufficient severity. Bob married Ann Tien, his high school sweetheart, in 1949. The couple had 4 kids: Karen, David, Debbie, and Robert. After relocating to California with his family in 1956, Bob began a prosperous radio career with KNX Radio in Los Angeles. Bob soon earned the title of King of the Airwaves. His charming and humorous program drew large audiences and included interviews with celebrities such as Marilyn Monroe, Bob Hope, and Frank Sinatra. Unfazed, Bob got his big break in 1965 when he was chosen to play the lead in Hogan's Heroes, a new comedy on CBS. Bob, who played the slick-talking Colonel Robert Hogan, became well known as the program gained popularity and received 2 Emmy nods in 1966 and 1967. During this period, Bob got to know Patricia Annette Olson, Sigrid Valdis, who portrayed Hilda on the program. He married Patricia in 1970 after divorcing Anne, and they had a son, Scott, in 1971. But Bob's greatest triumph ended when Hogan's Heroes was discontinued in 1971. He kept performing, but he realized that the parts were fewer and less satisfying. In addition to making cameos on television programs like Ellery Queen, The Love Boat, and Policewoman, he starred in Disney movies like Superdad and Gus. His program, the Bob Crane program, was temporarily terminated after 3 months in 1975. Bob performed in and directed Beginner's Luck, a play that toured the country after he bought its rights in 1973. The play took him to Scottsdale, Arizona, where tragedy struck in June 1978. Bob was brutally killed in his rented flat early on June 29, 1978. He was 49. To this day, his murder is unsolved. Bob Crane's portrayal of Colonel Hogan at age 37 had a lasting impression on viewers. Tragically, Crane was discovered dead by bludgeoning in his room in Scottsdale, Arizona, while traveling for a Beginner's Luck dinner theater presentation in June 1978. Werner Klemmer as Colonel Klink. Klink is a complete failure. He's a fumbling idiot who believes he's a big shot. He's too self-assured, afraid, and credulous. He can even get dressed in the morning, which is incredible. He consistently makes errors and ends up in trouble. He's too obstinate to learn his lesson, even though you'd think he would. Seeing his attempt to appear important and challenging when he's a weak commander is amusing. He's the kind of person who would get disoriented in his garden. He's still in command, which is fantastic. Throughout his acting career, Werner Klemmer, an actor who fled Nazi Germany at the age of 13 because his father was Jewish, found himself in a peculiar and rather hilarious situation. Like many other immigrants who fled Nazism, Klemmer often depicted the same people he had fled after moving to the United States. His portrayal of the monocle-wearing, conceited, and typically stupid Colonel Klink in the CBS comedy Hogan's Heroes made him most famous. For his performance, he won 2 Emmy Awards for Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy. But humorous parts weren't the only part of Klemper's career. In several films, he also played more somber and terrifying roles, especially Nazis. Among them were his depictions of Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann in Judgment at Nuremberg, the administrator of the Final Solution Adolf Eichmann in Operation Eichmann, and of course, Colonel Klink in Hogan's Heroes. These roles enhanced his already outstanding resume and demonstrated his range as an actor. At the age of 45, Werner Klemmer portrayed Colonel Klink. Regretfully, Klemmer passed away at the age of 80 from cancer on December 6, 2000, in his Manhattan home. John Banner as Sergeant Schultz. If you asked Schultz his name again, he would probably forget it. If he understood how to load his rifle, this incompetent guard would indeed shoot himself in the foot. But he's hilarious because of it. Despite his incapacity, he manages to do more good than harm to the inmates. He seems to be unintentionally skilled at being evil. Born in Vienna, then a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, on January 28, 1910, John Banner became famous on television as Sergeant Schultz, the camp guard for Luftwaffe POWs in the TV series Hogan's Heroes. After gaining over 100 pounds, Banner, who weighed a slender 180 pounds when he first came to the United States, became the endearing, plump character actor that America would come to know in innumerable TV series and motion pictures. He often portrayed diplomats from other countries, including the Soviet ambassador in the 1964 comedy Kisses for My President. Banner was chosen to play Sergeant Schultz in the 1965 wartime comedy Hogan's Heroes, which debuted on CBS on September 17th. The program was a light-hearted parody of the 1953 original film Stalag 17. The image of the naive, kind-hearted guard who knows nothing that Banner portrayed became famous. Banner, who co-starred with Werner Klemmer, Colonel Klink, and Bob Crane, Colonel Hogan, in the poorly received film The Wicked Dreams of Paula Schultz, insisted that Schultz embodied the innate goodness in every generation, and he refused to call the character a cuddly Nazi. Banner appeared in the Chicago Teddy Bears, another Prohibition-era television program, after the conclusion of Hogan's Heroes in 1971. Regretfully, the show only lasted 13 episodes before stopping. At the age of 55, John Banner portrayed Sergeant Schultz. Unfortunately, Banner passed away after suffering an intestinal hemorrhage on January 28, 1973, his 63rd birthday. Robert Clary as LeBeau. Cheers to France. Enjoy the food. Louis LeBeau, our chef and sometimes fashionista, lives by that credo. See how he turns basic materials into culinary creations that will tantalize your senses. This bold soldier conceals a sharp tongue behind his cheeky smile. He demonstrates that he's not only a superb chef but also a master of humor by not holding back while making fun of the Nazis and Germans for their crimes. And here's a little secret. This courageous chef can fit into the minor hiding spots like a skilled escape artist, even though he fears confined areas. Born in France, Robert Clary suffered unspeakable suffering during World War II after being detained as a youngster in a Nazi detention camp. Because of his passion for music, Clary rose to fame as a singer in France after the war. He relocated to the U.S. in 1949 to further his profession. While studying English, he made one of his first performances on The Ed Wynn Show in 1949 when he did a comic sketch in French. Clary's comedic ability was rapidly recognized, and he quickly established himself on Broadway by participating in several revues, such as Leonard Sillman's New Faces, which was so well-liked that it was converted into a movie in 1954. He gained popularity on game shows in the 1950s, and in 1965 he was cast as Corporal Louis LeBeau on the popular television program Hogan's Heroes. He became well known as a result of his performance, and he went on to play parts in television and movies, often referencing his experiences during World War II, as seen in the 1982 film Remembrance of Love, which was about Holocaust survivors. In his later years, Clary returned to television, appearing on the cast of hit series like The Young and the Restless and Days of Our Lives, where he continued to wow viewers with his extraordinary skill. Robert Clary portrayed the role of LeBeau at the age of 39. On November 16, 2022, at the age of 96, Clary passed away at home in Los Angeles from natural causes. Richard Dawson as Newkirk. With a needle in hand, Newkirk is a formidable opponent. With his pickpocket, forger, and safecracker abilities, Newkirk is a walking Swiss Army knife of espionage. He's a great tailor and a crafty disguise artist who can quickly create the most fashionable clothing and misleading personalities. From a high-ranking German general to a vaudeville star, he can pass for anybody with a wink and a grin. His skills are so varied that it's difficult to determine whether he's a secret agent or a tailor. It's as if he has a hidden compartment full of surprises. Richard Dawson, the witty, endearing presenter of the popular television game show Family Feud, became well known around the globe with every mention of Survey Says. To determine the most popular survey responses given to 100 individuals, the program put two families against one another. Although the show's format produced many memorable moments, as competitors frantically attempted to outsmart one another, Dawson's sharp wit, kind demeanor, and double entendre jokes made Family Feud one of the most watched game shows ever. The British comedian and actor was also known as the Kissing Bandit, Dickie, and Kissy Face, due to his propensity to kiss every female competitor, much to the pleasure of almost all of them. Dawson's recurrent role as the multi-talented Corporal Peter Newkirk on the iconic comedy series Hogan's Heroes made him a household celebrity before his immortal Family Feud renown. As a panelist on Match Game 73, which ran on CBS from 1973 to 1979, another game show of the time, viewers similarly well liked him. With such remarkable hosting appearances and a lengthy comedic career, Dawson became a popular television personality even after he vanished from the public eye. Richard Dawson portrayed Newkirk when he was 33 years old. Unfortunately, on June 2, 2012, Dawson passed away at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles at the age of 79 due to complications from cancer. Larry Hovis as Carter. Carter's love of science is contagious, yet he is notoriously awkward and forgetful. He's always coming up with something new in the lab. Sometimes it's a lot of fun. He's made fun of by the other inmates for having the most German appearance, which makes it easy for him to pass for a German officer and even take on the persona of the notorious Adolf Hitler. LeBeau and Newkirk like making fun of his lack of sophistication among ladies, but who needs smooth talking abilities when you're a brilliant man with a talent for explosives? Larry Hovis was raised in Houston, Texas, but was born in Wapato, Washington on February 20th, 1936. He began his career in entertainment as a singer, first playing in a duet with his sister Joan, and then joined the Mascots, a quartet. They even had an appearance on Talent Scouts, hosted by Arthur Godfrey. Larry got signed to Capitol Records when he was a philosophy student at the University of Houston, where he released an album called My Heart Belongs Only to You. His career changed dramatically when Larry was given a tiny part in the Hogan's Heroes pilot episode in 1965. Larry was offered a permanent position as Sergeant Carter, the demolition expert, when two previous performers quit the show. He continued to write for television while playing in Hogan's Heroes, appearing in series like Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, and even penning the script for the 1966 movie Out of Sight. Following the abrupt cancellation of Hogan's Heroes in 1971, Larry appeared in several television programs including Adam 12, Chico and the Man, Alice, and The Doris Day Show. He also dabbled in the entertainment industry, creating several game shows such as The Liars Club, where he often appeared as a panelist between 1976 and 1978. Larry performed until the early 1990s. Shadow Force in 1992 was one of his last appearances. At the age of 29, Larry Hovis portrayed Carter. Unfortunately, on September 9, 2003, Hovis passed away in Austin, Texas, from esophageal cancer. He was 67. Ivan Dixon as Kinchlow. Kinchlow, a native of Detroit, is an expert in secret communications because of his work with a telephone company. He can remarkably imitate German commanders on the phone or radio. Kinchlow was a strong boxer before the war, and his underground operations have significantly benefited from his fighting spirit and fast reflexes. The role of Kinchlow in the comedy Hogan's Heroes made African-American actor and director Ivan Dixon famous. Dixon, raised mainly in North Carolina and attended North Carolina Central University in Durham to study acting, was born to shopkeeper parents. Dixon portrayed the role of Joseph Asagai in Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun after making his Broadway debut in 1957 in William Sarian's Cave Dwellers. In addition to playing the part in the 1959 musical Porgy and Bess, Dixon reprised it in the 1961 movie. Dixon starred alongside singer-actress Abby Lincoln in the highly acclaimed indie film Nothing But a Man in 1964, along with a lengthy record of TV appearances, which included many episodes of the sci-fi anthology programs The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits. Dixon also starred in the 1965 drama A Patch of Blue. He received an Emmy nomination in 1967 for his performance in the title character of CBS Playhouse's The Final War of Ollie Winter. Dixon played his most well-known character, Kinchlow, in the comedy Hogan's Heroes for 5 seasons, starting in 1965. The role was undemanding, so he departed before his run ended. He began directing in 1970 and continued to do so consistently for television into the early 1990s, helming episodes of action shows like Magnum P.I. and movies like Trouble Man and the contentious spy thriller The Spook Who Sat by the Door. Ivan Dixon, who was 34 when he played Kinchlow, tragically passed away at Presbyterian Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina on March 16, 2008, at the age of 76, as a result of complications from renal failure. Leon Asin as General Burkhalter. Colonel Klink's crafty superior, General Burkhalter, often supervises activities in Stalag 13. His blustery demeanor usually provides comedic relief, even though he is severe, dictatorial, and quick to scare Klink with catastrophic repercussions for failure. Additionally, Burkhalter is unwittingly involved in Hogan and his team's espionage operations due to their manipulation of him. The gifted Austrian character actor Leon Asin gained recognition in several American productions. His life took a drastic turn in 1940 when he emigrated to the United States to avoid Nazi persecution, despite having started as a prominent theatrical performer in Austria. Asin earned several acting roles in Hollywood after serving in the American military during World War II, portraying people from various backgrounds. Asin starred in well-known movies in the 1950s, such as The Robe and Road to Bali. In Rocky and His Friends cartoon, he voiced Fearless Leader before switching to television. One of Asin's most well-known parts was that of General Burkhalter in the hit comedy Hogan's Heroes in 1965. Throughout his career, Asin mostly starred in smaller parts in several movies and television series. However, he did have a significant role in Billy Wilder's comedy 1, 2, 3. Asin had a prolonged impact on the entertainment business at his death in 2005, having accumulated an excellent resume with over 125 movie credits. At the age of 58, Leon Asin portrayed General Burkhalter. At the age of 97, Asin passed away in Vienna on June 3, 2005 from natural causes. He is buried in Vienna Central Cemetery. Sigrid Valdis as Hilda. Hilda may seem a mere cog in the German war machine, serving as Colonel Klink's secretary, but don't be fooled. Her modest demeanor belies a bright intellect and a crafty mentality. Hilda is a master of rapid thinking and flexibility in espionage. She must manage the risks of her covert work while concealing her allegiances. She outwits the Germans and aids the inmates in their struggle for liberation by using her hidden weapons of charm and wit. Sigrid Valdis attended Stella Adler's drama school because she was passionate about performing. Her innate ability was evident throughout the production of her first feature picture, and by 1964 she had returned to California to pursue a full-time acting career. Because of her cinematic accomplishments, she could work with TV icons like Red Skelton, Steve Allen, and Phil Silvers. She also shared the screen with celebrities like Dennis Hopper and Robert Conrad in well-known series, including Kraft Mystery Theater, Arrest and Trial, and The Wild Wild West. Valdis also left her imprint on the theater, most notably as the lead in Bob Crane's 1968 touring production Cactus Flower. Edward H. Feldman, the producer of Hogan's Heroes, saw her in 1965 and invited her to make a cameo as Gretchen in episode 10. Feldman was pleased by her performance and hired her to portray Hilda, Colonel Klink's secretary, as a regular cast member in the second season. On October 16, 1970, she married co-star Bob Crane on the set of Hogan's Heroes in what was the first known genuine marriage done on a soundstage. Her involvement in the program sparked a real-life relationship with Crane. Robert Scott Crane, their son, was born a year later. Valdis decided to give up acting after the birth of her son and devote herself entirely to her roles as a wife and mother. Her transformation from a teenage model to a well-liked TV actor proves her aptitude and adaptability in the entertainment business. At the age of 30, Sigrid Valdis portrayed Hilda. Valdis, who was tragically twice widowed, passed away at the age of 72 from lung cancer in Anaheim, California on October 14, 2007. Howard Kane as Major Hochstetter. When it comes to questioning, Major Hochstetter is a formidable opponent. His unrelenting pursuit of the truth, analogous to a bulldog sniffing out every detail, makes life difficult for the inmates of Stalag 13. Beneath his rough demeanor is a guy who's devoted to the Nazi cause and motivated by duty. As he often battles with the sly Hogan and the foolish Colonel Klink, his fiery temper and unwavering dedication to his objective frequently create tension and humor. Born in Nashville, Tennessee, Howard Kane, formerly Howard Cohen, relocated to New York City when he was 13. He put a lot of effort into shedding his Southern accent and mastering 32 distinct foreign and American accents because he was determined to be a successful actor. Kane studied theater at Columbia University and earned a summa cum laude degree from the School of Theater after serving in the Navy during World War II. Despite having over 750 television appearances during his career, Kane is most known for his 6-year tenure as Gestapo Major Hochstetter on Hogan's Heroes. In the 1976 CBS two-part television film Helter Skelter, he played Everett Scoville, a figure modeled by Charles Manson's lawyer, Irving Kanarek. Kane's interest outside of acting was the Appalachian fretless banjo, which he learned to play in the middle of the 1960s. He won several awards in banjo and fiddle competitions across the South between 1970 and his death in 1993. Additionally, he was a well-liked folk singer who sang at festivals and bars. Howard Kane portrayed Major Hochstetter at the age of 40. Regretfully, on December 28, 1993, 5 days before his 68th birthday, Kane passed away from a heart attack. John Cedar as Corporal Langenscheidt. Corporal Langenscheidt is a devoted and hardworking guard who often obeys commands without question. Constantly willing to help Sergeant Schultz and Colonel Klink, his compliance sometimes results in amusing circumstances, particularly when he becomes entangled in the inmates' complex plots. Despite his incompetence, Langenscheidt is a likable character whose errors significantly add to the show's comedy because of his unshakable dedication to service. Known for his amiable manner and captivating performances, John Cedar is most recognized for his recurring role on Hogan's Heroes as Corporal Karl Langenscheidt. The drama, set in a German prisoner of war camp during World War II, highlighted Cedar's comedic talent within the series' sly and amusing situations. Throughout his 35-year career, Cedar played a part in tragic and comic performances. Among his cinematic credits are the courtroom drama Matlock and the comedy Feds. He may be familiar to horror enthusiasts for co-writing and producing the supernatural thriller The Manitou in 1978, which starred Tony Curtis and Burgess Meredith. In the Nature Gone Wild thriller The Day of the Animals, he also appeared. Cedar shared his knowledge with budding actors as an acting teacher later in his career. At the age of 34, John Cedar portrayed Corporal Langenscheidt. Regretfully, on April 14, 2011, Cedar passed away at the age of 80 from leukemia at Providence Tarzana Medical Center in Los Angeles. Bernard Fox as Colonel Crittenden. The most notable quality of Colonel Crittenden is his incompetence. Even though he's a military member, he often makes mistakes that makes Hogan's well-planned operations more difficult. His well-meaning but poorly carried-out schemes usually result in amusing scenarios and unexpected outcomes. Crittenden's strong sense of patriotism and dedication to the Allied cause is indisputable, notwithstanding the flaws in his techniques. He is both a humorous counterpoint and an inspiring character because of his steadfast commitment to doing what's right, which contrasts sharply with the opponent he fights. With his genial personality and bushy mustache, Welsh actor Bernard Fox is well known for portraying stereotypically British roles. Born into a family of actors, Fox was on stage from an early age and served in the Royal Navy during World War II in the 1960s. Fox gained popularity on American television as the bumbling Colonel Rodney Crittenden on Hogan's Heroes and the grumpy warlock doctor, Dr. Bombay, on Bewitched. Additionally, he portrayed Dr. Watson in The Hound of the Baskervilles alongside Stuart Granger's Sherlock Holmes. In addition to these well-known roles, Fox made cameos on programs such as MASH, Columbo, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and Noon High. He played iconic parts later in his career, including Winston Havelock in The Mummy in 1999 and Archibald Gracie IV in Titanic in 1997. Away from the cinema, Fox was a magic aficionado, landscape painter, theatrical historian, and passionate gardener. Bernard Fox portrayed the role of Colonel Crittenden at the age of 38. At the age of 89, Fox tragically passed away on December 14, 2016, at Valley Presbyterian Hospital in Van Nuys, California, from heart failure. John Stevenson as Captain Mueller. In Hogan's Heroes, Captain Mueller is shown as a self-assured and influential member of the German army. His choice to take cover in Stalag 13 during an airstrike is an example of Mueller's aggressiveness and strategic thinking, which have earned him the respect of his subordinates. Mueller's measured movements, which combine self-preservation and caution, reveal his cautious nature despite his powerful appearance. His choice to refrain from remaining in a vulnerable area highlights his knowledge of possible dangers and strikes a balance between authority and sound judgment. Early in childhood, John Stevenson showed off his skill as a varied performer. Stevenson, a 1941 Kenosha, Wisconsin's Mary D. Bradford High School graduate, was a standout student council member and forensics expert. His oratory abilities flourished under the guidance of theatrical instructor John Davies, leading to a second-place result at the National Forensics League competition in Lexington, Kentucky. That year, his Kenosha squad achieved a remarkable victory by defeating over 800 competitors. Stevenson showed flexibility as the medium changed by switching to radio in 1948. He swiftly embraced the new frontier when television came up, and in 1951, he was hired as the commercial announcer for the well-known comedy I Love Lucy. Stevenson played a crucial part in a program that would become a television classic. Stevenson celebrated 60 years of marriage with his cherished spouse and had a happy personal life in addition to his professional accomplishments. At the age of 41, John Stevenson played Captain Mueller. Unfortunately, on May 15, 2015, Stevenson died at the age of 91 from Alzheimer's disease. With the iconic ensemble of Hogan's heroes, we recently took a nostalgic journey back to Stalag 13. Which character was your favorite? If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon